Humphreys.
Perfect. What about Andrew Wiggins?
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
You have a wife who is about to go into labor, but you have a regular season game coming up that night. What do you do? Do you attend the birth? Do you play in the game and miss the birth? Or option number 3, do you make her delay her labor so you can play in said regular season game?
Option 3, hands down, no questions asked.
Well, then you would be Andrew Wiggins, because that's what he did last year for the Warriors. When they played a regular season game, he decided to postpone his wife's labor so he could play in the regular season game.
Wait, this happened last year?
This was last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of a boss move.
Oh, actually, it was just a couple weeks ago. Sorry.
I was going to say, yeah. I like it. I kind of like it. I can't imagine how the conversation actually went, though. Like, there's no way that she was like, oh, you know what, that makes sense.
I'm 100% on board with that.
Yeah.
100% on board.
If anybody should have done that, Richard Sherman should have done that ahead of Super Bowl 49, because I remember, like, within those 2 weeks between the conference championship games and the actual Super Bowl, it was like, not only is his elbow, like, not working, but his wife is going to go into labor, in which he would consider leaving the game. And I was like, why?
And I'd be like, no. Not for this game. Any other game, that's fine. But not
Andrew Wiggins not nearly as important, and the Warriors not nearly as relevant this season. But
no.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Ball is life.
I guess so. It's more life than new life.
That's right.
All right. Welcome to the locker room on Spokane Talks. This is episode number 44 now. I'm your host, Justin Reed, alongside Andrew Tenney. You got some number 44s for me?
I had Richie Sexton, which I mentioned last week.
That's a great one.
Nick Bellore, special teams Pro Bowler for the Seahawks. I'm kind of running out. I kind of wanted to say Chris Wilcox, but he was 54, I think, when he played for the Sonics. So that is not applicable. I kind of thought I'd have more. 44 is a pretty common number.
So do you know what's really interesting about Nick Bellore? You want to know probably the reason why he made the Pro Bowl? He had decent play.
Being good?
He had decent play, but nobody cares about voting for special teams players. But he was just alphabetically first in the Pro Bowl voting, so everybody just clicked his as they moved on to the next one.
You know Brian Heiser, Hawk Talk, guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
Anyway, over when training camp was happening, he was pissed that we brought back Nick Bellore, and I was like, "Yo, dude, like he's one of our best special teamers." And then he responded to me, and he's like, what has ever indicated that he is one of our best special teamers? And then as he was having the season that he had, I kept quoting that, and I kept going back at him. Of course, he never responded again. But it was just like a little win for me.
Yeah, that's a nice win.
Nick ended up making the Pro Bowl.
That is a nice win. He did play well. I think he led the team in tackles. So
I don't know. Do you have another?
I do. I have a few here.
Oh, okay, cool.
Heath Evans, former Seahawks fullback, now on NFL Network.
He's more like a saint. Okay, fine.
That's fine. Spencer Ware.
Yes.
He did become a Chief.
Yep.
And then Marcel Reese for a season, former Pro Bowl with
Reese
with the Raiders.
Yeah.
The best Seahawks player of all time to wear number 44 is John Harris, who I'd never heard of, but he actually had 41 interceptions with Seattle as a safety from 78 to 85. So
obviously,
that was interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know who was going to be number 44 before he was told no?
Can I have a hint?
Bust. Massive bust, ran over by Bo Jackson.
Oh.
The Boz. The Boz came into the NFL. He played as 44 his entire career, but the NFL didn't allow linebackers at that time to wear 44.
Okay.
So he and the Seahawks petitioned the NFL to allow him to wear number 44. They said no, he wore for number 55.
Okay. Yeah.
That guy was crazy.
No, he was crazy.
He should have been better. I think his chromosomes were different. I think he was just built different.
Okay, have you and I had this conversation about that play, though?
The Bo Jackson play?
Him running over Boz at the goal line. There's no human or player in the history of any sport, especially in the NFL, that was going to stop Bo Jackson. It's not, I don't know.
Aaron
I feel
Curry
like,
probably.
Yes. True. So I don't know. I feel like that's one of the most overblown and overhyped, like, bad looks that a player, has taken flack for.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, basically defined his career, because obviously he didn't do much else.
Right. That is his highlight.
But seriously, like, nobody's stopping that. I don't know.
No, I agree.
I just think people blow that out of proportion.
They
like,
definitely
obviously,
did.
Bo Jackson. I mean, if you the physics involved,
it wasn't gonna happen.
Are not going to allow for a goal line stand there. But anyway.
It was not going to happen. I definitely agree.
Thank you.
All right. That was a nice little intro there.
Yeah.
Who do we got as a sponsor again? I never forget, but I just like to be reminded.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy to remind you. Maybe this time I won't botch it, but It's actually Lucky Bird.
Oh.
Yeah, a Spokane-based e-commerce and digital marketing company dedicated to helping local companies scale in the online world of e-commerce and digital marketing. Visit luckybirdbrands.com to have a down-to-earth, no-pressure conversation about your digital marketing and e-commerce strategies today. This is what this is what we guys want you guys to do.
Right. I'm always shocked when people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing some marketing stuff for my business," and they don't
no,
say Lucky Bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually bonkers to me.
I don't get it. Maybe Lucky Bird can sponsor as well one of the NHL divisions.
Oh, they could. Yeah, that's a great question. That actually folds in perfectly with our next segment.
Oh, right.
Right.
Look at that.
Almost like we planned this, right? Almost just like we planned it. Yeah, so the Seattle Kraken now officially an NHL franchise after they made their final payment to the NHL to become the 32nd team of the NHL. That means they will probably be placed in the Honda-sponsored West Division. That means that somewhere between the Mass Mutual East Division, the Discover Central Division, and the Scotia North Division will have to be adjusted. The problem, though, is that the North Division only has 7 teams, but those are all the Canadian teams, so are they going to add a non-Canadian team to the Scotia North Division? Or
is it exclusively Canadian?
Calgary,
Nice.
Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and the Winnipeg
I guess
Jets.
that also checks out geographically.
So I think the only team that can probably fit there legally would be Minnesota. They're the closest thing to Canada that we have. They would have to move them out of the West, and then Seattle would slot into that 8th spot in the West.
Okay.
So celebrate accordingly with a snort or two this weekend.
Nice.
Now you officially can, and not feel like you're celebrating too early. They can sign. They can sign free agents. They can trade with teams. They can vote in owner meetings. Essentially everything that all the other NHL franchises could do, Seattle is now a part of.
All right.
And I'm here for it, and I'm excited. I'd love to go to. I'll be. My goal is when the season starts. I think it's in November, maybe October. I want to be at a game within the first month.
Yeah, that would be really.
That'd
cool.
be fun.
That'd be really cool.
In theory, we should be more apt at being able to do things like that come fall. But I've been shocked before.
Yeah, I'm going to have to abandon my Vancouver Canucks fandom and just transition over to Seattle.
You're definitely going to have to here. All right. The not-so-good Seattle-based sports news happened yesterday, right in the afternoon. I was just about ready to walk into Home Depot. I got a nice notification from ESPN, which was nice that they actually sent me notification that they're actually coming through, and said,
of course they did for this.
Yeah, right. By the way, the Mariners are being no-hit through 8 innings. And I'm like, nice. I'm super excited. I love when the Mariners get no-hit. They love to do that stuff. And so I turned on the game, and it was John Means, who's a nobody, of course, as usual. And Mariners get no-hit or perfect gamed by nobodies. And, they got no-hit yesterday. A lot of crazy. When did you first hear about it?
I think I saw it on Twitter. Yeah, I didn't get a notification. ESPN still doesn't let me know anything.
Nice. Classic ESPN.
Yep. Doesn't this happen like every year?
It feels like it. It doesn't.
Do I have a faulty memory, or within the past few years have they either been perfect gamed or no hit?
No hit, definitely.
Okay.
Because Felix was actually the last guy to throw a perfect game in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but no, the Mariners were no hit like 2 years ago. I want to say in 18, maybe 18 or 19.
I don't know. It just seems like every time somebody's making like a little tidbit of history, it seems that Seattle is on the losing side.
They're always on the worst side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that kind of goes into this part. So it was the first no-hitter by the Orioles in 30 years, but it was the first complete game no-hitter by one pitcher in 50 years since Jim Palmer in 1971, I think, is what it is. 1969. Nice. And so it was the current longest streak in baseball, because before that it was the Padres who this season threw their first no-hitter in franchise history. And then, essentially the Mariners just all game, I mean, they were making weak contact. Because I went back and I read some of the reports about it. They were barely hitting the ball out of the infield. And, I mean, they were just getting mowed down like cheap shrubbery.
Nice. Well, they got like one guy in the lineup that's hitting north of 250, right?
Yeah, it's Haniger.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh.
Yeah, no, the Mariners are going through like a historically bad stretch. They're batting like 181 over their last 10 games, and over the last like 20, they're batting 240.
Dropping a couple to the Orioles too. I thought the Orioles were supposed to be like dumpster fire. And
they
look like they're near 500. So I mean, they're worst clubs out there.
There could be worse clubs out there, but the Mariners, if they ever want to compete, can't lose to teams like this on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that's always the benchmark for a good team is you take care of business against inferior opponents. Yeah.
So what's crazy about this no-hitter is it was one wild pitch away from being a perfect game. He actually struck out Sam Haggerty. Sam Haggerty got to first. Sam Haggerty was then thrown out at second on a steal. So he faced the minimum 27 batters, which is really interesting. It's the first time that there was a no-hitter with no errors, hits, hit by pitches, or walks in MLB history.
So that is, in classic Mariners fashion, just a little Seattle twist that they can put on this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's over 22,000 games. It's also believed to be the first time in Major League history that a pitcher lost a perfect game on a third strike wild pitch.
Wow.
You want some more here?
Sure.
He threw first pitch strikes to 26 of the 27 batters he faced, the highest percentage of first pitch strikes in a complete game in the pitch tracking era since 1988. So chances are it goes further than that because that's absolutely bonkers.
Okay.
So it's now the third no-hitter thrown this season. Padres' Joe Musgrove did it against the Texas Rangers on April 9th, and the Chicago White Sox's Carlos Rodon did it against the Cleveland Indians on April 14th. It's also the first time since 1969 there have been 3 complete game no-hitters this early on in the season. Record for most no-hitters in a year is 7.
John just had to get that no-hitter by any means.
Yep, you got to do what you got to do.
Oh, come on, chuckle.
It was more like an agreement laugh.
But his last name is Means.
That was pretty good.
You didn't laugh. That's the thing.
I missed it. You're right. I completely missed it.
It's okay. I'm just here talking.
That's pretty good
on a show in which we share. Hey,
that's fine. Oh, that's about all we need. We got a question here.
Oh dear.
By the producer who's not in the studio. Luckily, Sam's here running the show without his trusty sidekick. You know, Sam's like Batman in the situation. Vinny's like Robin most of the time.
Yes.
So Vincent wants to know, if you could do one thing to make the game of baseball more entertaining, what would it be and why? He said jetpacks or or pepper spray the player before they take the field. Jetpacks is the better answer there.
I had jetpacks for sure.
But I do appreciate the creativity.
Yeah.
I think free reign on steroids. Do whatever you
totally,
want.
100%.
That's the best,
100%.
most logical way of doing it.
So I don't want manipulation of the baseball itself, like, you know, what was going on like a couple of seasons ago or whatever, that historic season where everybody was just hitting them out of the park. Yep. I just want to see guys juiced. Actually, also tighter uniforms, because baseball players are seriously. No, time out.
No, let's just go off of that. Let's just go off of that soundbite here. So we here on the locker room, usually most of these ideas are kind of shared. Like we come up with things before the show. This is completely off the cuff. So let's just stick with the fact that Andrew Tenney wants tighter uniforms on baseball players.
I do. Okay, because
that's okay. We're moving on here.
Okay.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Because baseball players are jacked and nobody really knows. Obviously, you have like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, and those are like 2 of the only players that you go, wow, you really fill out a baseball uniform. Obviously, a lot of guys can fill out the pants. Some guys wear the longer,
what do you mean fill out the
pants? Ass is what I mean. Some guys fill them out, but up the top, the jerseys, everybody looks, they're boxy. The sleeves go down like almost to the elbow, and so you can't tell until you see them like in a post-game interview, like in the locker room, and they just have, like their Nike, just like their compression,
their compression shirts.
And it's like, oh my God, you guys are
actually
huge.
Athletes.
You guys are exactly
okay.
So I don't know.
So your take here, let's just make it clear. You want tighter uniforms only because you think baseball players don't get the recognition they deserve as athletes.
Well, and then I would also recognize them while I'm
gave
watching
you a perfect
as
out
athletes.
there.
No, I'm basically agreeing by just repeating what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah. And jetpacks.
Jetpacks would be kind of cool. Yeah. He's not even here, and he's still ripping us apart.
Yep.
He also said he's not Robin, but that's incorrect. All right. What do we have going? Oh yeah, Zags.
I don't know.
Now I'm all out of sorts now. Everything's just moving in slow motion.
We should play a UFC video, see what happens.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. All right. Quick little note here that happened right after I think the show got done last week is that the Zags secured another transfer. Rasir Bolton from Iowa State. The 2-22 Hawkeyes fired their head coach after the season, and Bolton's like, I'm out of here. I don't want to win 2 games over the course of a season again. So let's go to the presumably preseason number one overall team in the country. Seems like a decent pickup.
The rich get richer?
Is exactly what it is. He's going to be another Aaron Cook, Admon Gilder type guy coming off the bench, providing veteran leadership. He's going to be a senior this season. Played at Penn State he only started 9 games, but he actually, did you hear what happened to him at Penn State?
No.
I'm gonna make sure, that I don't get this wrong. But yeah, he transferred from Penn State as a freshman. That he alleged, and I think was kind of confirmed essentially because the coach ended up getting fired for other bad things too. But he transferred from Penn State because the former head coach said that he was essentially looked like he was playing with a noose around his neck.
Ooh.
That's not good in any regard. That's not too defensible there. So he then left Penn State. He's like, I'm out of here. Went to Iowa State. Iowa State has been trash over the last couple of years, and now he's going to GU, which has probably one of the best cultures in college basketball. Provides about 15 points a game. Likes to play fast. Is 110% committed to just being a Bulldog, which is again one of the largest factors of coming to GU. Like you have to be in. You can't just be like Jalen Suggs was the perfect example. Everyone was wondering how he was going to slot in, and he came in and provided like one of the more Zag type.
But there was a learning curve because I remember watching that first game against Kansas on Thanksgiving, and I remember texting you, and I was like, dude, this guy's not getting back on defense. Like what the hell?
Yeah,
like, he's just like jogging it back there. Yeah, no. There was a bit of, but obviously, I mean, what happened at the tail end of the season and in the tournament, I mean, he completely turned it around, bought in, and now he's going to be a top 5 pick. But anyway,
So like you said, rich get richer. Will they still which this is crazy to me. I was just reminded of this yesterday by Larry Weir, the other podcast that I do once every month or so. They have 2 scholarship spots left.
Wow.
They still have 2 scholarship spots open. So we'll keep an eye to see if they get that Kentucky decommit. Another transfer is probably coming down the pipeline here at one point. But that's always fun.
Yeah.
Fun time to be a Zags fan. Sticking in the basketball vein, let's go over some NBA topics.
What do you want to know?
You tell me what you want to tell me.
Okay. Well, so as far as the awards go, this season for the most part has been largely uncompelling. I would say the most competitive race is the Rookie of the Year race, only because LaMelo missed the handful of weeks that he did with a wrist injury. He's back, and I don't know if it was his first game back or his second game, but there were 3 passes that he made in a single game that were just littered through my Twitter feed. Right. Him making football throws, basically the follow through that he had on like a full court pass, and he did an underhand. I don't know if you saw this, and it was like a half court or like 2/3 of the court. Yeah. Underhand pass like for an oop is just insane. So anyway, it's between him. Halliburton with the Kings, he just got injured, was kind of in the conversation. He's not going to get it. And then obviously Anthony Edwards, who just had like a 40-point 5-5 game on 17 of 22 shooting without a single free throw, which was, I think, pretty impressive. By far his most like efficient game scoring this season because he's taken like 20 shots plus a game, and the percentages have not always been there. But so that one's the only one that's kind of tight. I presume LaMelo's going to get it.
He probably should.
Yeah.
Just because of the body of work all season, as well as what he means to that team, as well as the fact that he stuffs the box sheet.
Yeah, exactly. And he gets everybody involved. And obviously he was sorely missed by the team who kind of win. And I mean, Gordon Hayward also happened to get injured basically right after LaMelo. So that didn't help either. But he's obviously an integral part of that team already. Yep. And that team is going to be in a playing game, and they're going to be, really tough, especially if they do get Hayward back. Jordan Clarkson's going to get 6th man of the year. Most improved is probably going to be Julius Randle, who's averaging, 24, 11, and 5 or 6, and he's shooting 40% from 3, which I don't think anybody ever would have projected, especially now that he's in his 6th or 7th year in the NBA. He's totally put together, and he is like the definition of the Tom Thibodeau Knicks. I mean, he is embodying everything that this current iteration of the Knicks are. And then the MVP, it was kind of spicy. It was kind of a debate for a while, but injuries obviously have taken their toll. Embiid has missed time scattered throughout the season, and Jokic is one of the best offensive players in the game. I mean, you can't say he's one of the best passing big men currently or ever, you just have to say he's one of the best passers that the game has ever seen.
Right.
I mean, he can just he puts the ball wherever the hell he wants to put it.
Yeah.
And just watching him grab a rebound and take one step and just rifle it anywhere on the court in transition is like, he's one of my favorite players to watch. Like, I know a couple of weeks ago I was talking about how Zion, and of course you want to push back on that because you're a Zion hater for whatever reason. But
I'm a long-term Zion hater.
Yeah, okay, fair.
Like currently,
fair.
I am impressed with this game, but I just don't think it's going to translate long-term.
Okay, understood. But Jokic is like, I don't have NBA League Pass, but anytime he's on TNT, ESPN, ABC, or NBA TV, it's like I'm gonna watch the Nuggets, and it's really impressive because Jamal Murray has been out now for a couple weeks after he tore his ACL, and they've only ascended in the standings, and I believe they currently hold the 3rd spot in the West right now, after beating the Clippers a couple evenings ago to usurp them for that number 3 seed. The West is getting really interesting though, because Denver is currently in the 3 seed. The Lakers are in a tie with Dallas, but Dallas holds the tiebreaker
of that play-in.
They are really pissed. So what's interesting, if Dallas, the Lakers, and Portland all finish with the same record, and Dallas and the Lakers currently have the same record, and then Portland just has one more loss, Dallas will actually win the tiebreaker amongst all 3 teams because of the fact that they will be a division winner.
Oh, right.
So when was the last time being a division winner ever factored into NBA? Like, I think everybody forgets that there are actually divisions in the NBA just because the way that everything is formatted and scheduled, it's
you
usually
never see it.
It doesn't play any role, but and it might. And so I want to see 4 or 5 right now is currently the Clippers and the Mavericks, which would be a rematch of the actually pretty compelling first round matchup from the bubble earlier last season rather. I want so badly the Clippers and the Lakers. I want the Lakers to get up into that 5th seed, and I want one of the LAs to be out like immediately. I just want one. I don't want to have to deal with both of them. I want one definitive LA team going throughout the postseason, and I would love for one of them to get bounced by the other. I think
that would be really fun.
I think at this point, it's each team's worst fear is if they have to, because obviously from the Clippers standpoint, like, you have all the history. You are the Clippers. You are second fiddle. You are not the team that owns LA. And then you have the Lakers, who have had such a rocky season with LeBron and Anthony Davis missing so much time, and obviously they still have championship aspirations. Who knows if they're going to be able to gel and put it together because they have so many different pieces. They're working in Drummond. Obviously, they're working Marcus Sol back into the rotation, who actually did an incredible job when they just played Denver of kind of putting the clamps on as well as you can on Jokic. I think that would just be the most compelling. Utah and Phoenix still sit up there at 1 and 2. And then you got Memphis and Golden State and Portland all kind of battling for positions in the the play-in games. And the East, I mean, is generally less compelling.
Where are the Celtics sitting?
They're currently number 6. So they got a tiebreaker with Miami, and they just blew out Orlando last night. So they jumped from the 7 to the 6. They have a really easy schedule, but kind of easy schedule going forward. But they do play Miami twice. So that's going to determine basically those 2 games, and it's a back-to-back too. Kemba Walker went off for like 32 last night, which was really impressive. Aaron Nesmith, who was their first draft pick, has actually seems like a light bulb has turned on a little bit with him. He's actually had like 4 or 5 like productive games in a row when he's like averaging like 20 minutes a game too, and he's filling up the stat sheet. So obviously he's kind of getting his traction in the league, and yeah, I don't know. But they're going to get bounced by Milwaukee or Brooklyn, whichever, they end up facing. I mean, it's going to be a clean sweep. Maybe they could get a game on Milwaukee. I don't know. I don't really care. I really don't. This season is just the worst.
Not there for you.
Yeah. I mean, you have cool storylines like Washington, which I think I touched on a little bit last week with Russell Westbrook. I think he had 14 points, 24 assists, and like 21 rebounds the other day. And so that's the 3rd game in NBA history in which a player logged 20 and 20 of assists and rebounds, and the other person that did it was Russell Westbrook.
Okay,
and then I don't know who the 3rd one was, but so they're kind of a fun storyline after having an abysmal start to the year, and then clawing their way back, and they're going to be a tough out with whoever has to play them in the play-in game. And then you got the New York Knicks, who are
Still doing
still doing the Knicks thing. So
not bad. The current Knicks thing, the 2021 Knicks.
Yeah,
thing.
the 2021 Knicks thing. That's right. New Orleans and your favorite player Zion Williamson are trying their 1.5 games back of San Antonio to get into the 10 seed, and they would be scary too because I mean when they're firing, they got a really incredible offense.
They got some offense over there.
I'm sure. I don't know, Brandon Ingram and Stan Van Gundy will do something to prevent them from actually getting that 10th seed. But yeah, that's kind of where things are at. I mean, again, the point that I kind of touched on last week is still true this week, and it'll be true next week too as we are winding down to the last 10 days of the season. This playoff or this play-in regimen, it really has made the waning month of the NBA regular season a lot more compelling than it typically is. And in addition, it has prevented more teams from tanking that typically would because, I mean, any GM, front office, organization, they want to get into the playoffs regardless if they have a losing record and an overall underwhelming season. It just looks good for them. But, yeah, I'm just excited to get to the playoffs. I really am. And I know that you'll probably start watching more too and have a little bit more of a back and forth now that you can tune into the
I started off the NBA season actually doing pretty well watching it, but then it just you hit a lull there if you don't have a team to really focus on. Like it's like ugh, I just can't do it. No, but totally you're right. Playoff NBA time is definitely fun. That is for sure. Well, something that's a little more compelling to me was the NFL draft that happened the night of our show last week, and we actually did pretty well. Our mock, we started off 7 for 7. We only did the top 10. Our mock started 7 for 7, and then
did you pick Trey Lance?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we were 7 for 7, and then it was the Panthers who messed it up. You had him taking Slater, which actually I also had them taking Slater. They, in fact, took corner J.C. Horn. That messed everything else up because then that forced Denver, who I think got freaked out. Then I had them taking Justin Fields. In fact, they took Pat Surtain III with their 9th pick, and then that also messed up.
What Dallas was going to do.
Yes.
And Dallas is like, okay, we're out.
Yep. And then Dallas is like, we're not going to be here anymore because both the corners that we wanted are now gone.
Yep.
So they traded their pick to the Eagles, who then took Devonta Smith, the wide receiver. And then I do want to point out the fact that the Bears then moved up into the 11th spot to grab Justin Fields, which I think was the right decision.
Is AJ stoked?
He is. He's pretty happy there. So he. Yeah, he's very happy about that.
Okay.
We do have a question here real quick. Thoughts on Rodgers possibly leaving Green Bay? I'll let you go first.
I don't think he's going to leave. Well, okay, so I don't think he's going to play for another team.
Tell me what's more likely. 1, he leaves, plays for another team. 2, he leaves the Packers and goes and hosts Jeopardy. Or 3, or just just completely quits football. Or 3, stays with Green Bay.
I think it's more likely that he actually gets traded and ends up playing elsewhere. He's not going to be the host of Jeopardy. I think Joe Buck kind of has his foot in the door there for getting that job. It's kind of ridiculous that Ian Rappaport put out the fact that feels pretty good about his chances or his performance on Jeopardy, and so he could be eyeing that if he steps away from football. It's like it's not going to happen. He did well. It was kind of a fun thing. It was. Paying his respects, to a show that he really is a huge fan of. Yep. I don't know. I really hope Green Bay puts their foot down, though. I hope that they are able to kind of stifle this trend that we see obviously a lot more in the NBA, but we're starting to see it now with quarterbacks in particular in the NFL. They're not happy. He's in a good situation. He has one of the best offensive lines in football. He has an incredible weapon.
He has a few weapons. I think
Davante Adams, he's got Aaron Jones. I mean, they have an up-and-coming tight end in Robert Tonyan as well. And it's like, okay, so I understand the optics of not choosing weapons in early rounds of the draft. However, if you look at the playoff losses that the Packers have endured over the years, it's because they're getting 30-pieced all the time. So every time that the Packers address the defense, it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. Right. There is an argument for their picks in doing that.
Rodgers had one of his best years last year. It wasn't his fault. It's not his weapon's fault. He's playing just fine.
Yeah.
You're right.
There aren't many football situations around the league in which he's going to find himself in better shape.
Right.
I don't know. I understand the frustration and being there for as long as he has and like losing and losing and losing and losing and not being in the Super Bowl since whatever it was, 2010.
And seeing Brady go to Tampa in his first season.
And then going into Lambeau, it's like, okay, well, Rodgers just wanted to get that NFC title game at home for once in his career. It's like, okay, dude, you got it.
You got it. Go ahead and see what you can do.
And then, of course, a coaching faux pas and they kick the field goal and never get the ball back.
Bad.
So, I mean, I understand to an extent his frustrations. However, I don't know. I don't think he really has a case here.
Right. Yeah.
Those are my general thoughts.
I also agree. Favre said he's not very optimistic about it. He was interviewed on ESPN's radio there in
Favre
Wisconsin.
Says a lot of stuff.
He does say a lot of stuff.
Matter.
But what's also kind of interesting is that no Packers QB has ever made it 17 seasons with one team. So Bart Starr was there for 16 seasons. Brett Favre was there for 16 seasons. Aaron Rodgers has been here for 16 seasons. And they all left after year 16.
So is bad enough trying to follow up Brett Favre as the Green Bay quarterback? Try to be the guy that follows Favre and then Rodgers.
Yeah, best of luck. Best of luck. Like
Good luck.
This franchise has been blessed with two absolute studs at the QB position.
Yeah.
And they've been there since, they've been there for 32 years.
Yeah.
It's literally been 3 decades since Green Bay has had to think about a quarterback. And they really are thinking hard. Their quarterback that they selected, Jordan Love, didn't even get off the bench last year. He was the third string. He was inactive most of the time.
He wouldn't even take the snaps at the end of the game just to need the ball. Yeah.
No, he just was never in. So they're in very bad shape. But there are reports today saying that Green Bay is looking for quarterbacks for training camp and for the offseason here because I think they are a little worried about it.
Yeah.
Their GM has made moves. Rodgers didn't want a guy to get cut. They ended up cutting him last year. That pissed him off. There's a lot of stuff going on there in Green Bay. I also think it'll blow over eventually, but I'm not super optimistic about it. Like, I'm not confident in saying Rodgers will be a Green Bay Packer come September.
And Rodgers he's such a different cat too. Like he's an interesting guy. He is a weird guy.
He's very his family hates him.
Obviously,
he's gone through 3 women in like 7 years.
He obviously holds grudges because he's like excommunicated his brother, who is like famous in his own way, and then his parents. There's not a relationship in that family dynamic, and so that kind of that's always been a weird thing that I feel like people don't
super weird talk about.
People don't talk enough about some of the off the field stuff with him that really kind of shed a light into who he is as a person,
right,
and how he approaches all aspects of his life, obviously including his profession.
Right.
I don't know.
Are you a Rodgers facial hair guy? Clean shaven or facial haired Rodgers?
Oh, facial hair Rodgers. He's got one of the best mustaches in the league when he rocks that in training camp.
Well, then when he also brings in the full beard too, like he looks like an adult. Like he looks like a kind of creepy guy without facial hair now.
Yes,
in my opinion.
Totally.
So back to the draft here. Great question there. Rejected penny, 14. Do you think that's the Seahawks penny?
Probably.
Most likely.
Chilling at McDonald's drive-thru right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So what's good about the draft, though, luckily this season, is that nobody was caught toking during the draft like Laramie Tunzel. We've talked about Laramie Tunzel on this show. It actually worked out pretty well for all intents and purposes there. Yeah. But some of the other people who did fall, that was a little interesting and also I think will be kind of big. Mac Jones fell to the Patriots. I don't think Mac Jones is a top-end prospect, but if you get him at number whatever they got him, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there, I think that works out pretty well.
I'm also glad for his sake that he didn't go number 3 because like it wasn't really fair all this speculation, all this conjecture and conversation surrounding, the 49ers moving up and, obviously we thought that he was the apple of Kyle Shanahan's eye.
Right.
And I thought that was a really unfair position for him to be, put in and subjected to. So I'm glad that he did fall to 15 and that he doesn't have to
start right away.
Yeah, carry the weight of the Bay on his shoulders.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Najee Harris fell to the Steelers, the top running back in the draft.
We all saw that coming.
Fell down, which was perfect for them. I mean, I think it works out well for all parties
involved. Their offensive line's still really bad at run blocking, though. A running back doesn't fix that, but we'll see.
But he is better because he can at least break tackles and he can deal with that a little bit better than some of their small guys they've had over the years. Then the Seahawks finally did take a pick here in the second round. They had a second-round draft pick, 24th overall. And they selected 5'9", almost 5'10", wide receiver Dwayne Eskridge, who fits a very Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Kansas City Chief type wide receiver body. He runs a 4.4 40. He's quick. He can run, run slants really well, run outs.
His yards after the catch
is impressive.
And that's something
like
that
18
Seahawks
yards.
receivers have never had.
Right, and so he was like the second best player available on the board by the time the Seahawks got to pick, which is also very surprising. He was second in the FBS in all-purpose yards, which includes his kick return and punt return yards. So he'll become instantly the Seahawks' day one kick and punt returner, which is what they desperately have needed since Tyler Lockett broke his leg. He hasn't really been their kick return guy on a consistent basis. He has small hands. He runs a limited route tree, are kind of the big knocks on him. He's small, obviously, so the whole contested catches aspect will be something to watch. But, a lot of people were like, wide receiver wasn't their biggest need, and I agree with that. It was a need, though. And if this was one of the best players on the board that fulfilled a need at the same time, I don't see what the big deal was.
Okay, so obviously they had 3 picks, and there were the positions that we addressed that we thought needed to be, addressed in the draft. The only one that they didn't really is center, but they did end up getting a tackle, whether he's going to Forsyth, which is I'm getting a jersey day one.
He's a great name, Stone Forsyth.
Forsyth, sick as hell.
Yeah.
Anyway, whether he's going to fill in the shoes of, Dwayne Brown when he finally retires or, goes elsewhere or whatever he decides to do, or whether he ends up being, just a backup, or whether he fills the George Fant, Cedric Agbui role, to come in as the
swing tackle.
Yeah, exactly. And then the cornerback, obviously they needed a cornerback. I kind of still am hopeful that Sherm will return. I would like to see that. That would make my heart warm
That'd be
full.
Nice.
But now it's like that cornerback room is kind of getting full.
Yeah, a lot of guys in there right now.
But I did think, because what I mentioned is like the depth at receiver was really the thing that they needed to
look at.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so I like this, and Shane Waldron. We got to hope that there's going to be a lot more
jet sweeps and motion.
Exactly, pre-snap stuff, and it seems like Eskridge would be the ideal fit for that. So
yeah, the biggest needs, and we talked about this coming into this draft, were offensive line, wide receiver, corner, defensive back, and technically linebacker if you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty. But I think that reunion with KJ Wright still is very much a possibility moving on.
Well, and they like Cody Barton and maybe Darrell Taylor too.
And then they did talk about Taylor moving to that strong side position.
Yeah.
Obviously letting Jordan Brooks work the weak side, and obviously Bobby there in the middle. Trey Brown, though, they did pick up in the 4th round, the 32nd pick in the 4th round. A 5-foot, again, another 5'9" guy out of Oklahoma. Small wingspan, 30.5 inches. Seahawks like their corners to have at least 32-inch arms, so that was kind of a surprise. Very feisty, though. He was the top-rated corner in 1v1 situations, though, in college football, which is really impressive for a guy who's that small. Another special teams ace is probably the best gunner in the draft, so I think that was also a decent pick. Also, he talked about how he's a feisty player. You look at the tape, and he doesn't get pushed around by big wide receivers, which is surprising for his size. Granted, that's college, but that's also the pass-happy Big Ten, so that's a big plus. And then, like you mentioned, Stone Forsyth picked up in the 6th round, 24th pick in that round. A lot of guys saw him as a 3rd, 4th round, second day kind of guy. He slid. He's 6'9", has long arms. His big problem is just his center of gravity so high because of the fact that he's so tall. So kind of a weak run blocker. Doesn't have quite the push that some of these guys have because of his size, but he has elite height. Obviously, he has elite length, and one of the best pass blocking guys in the country. Also shut down Georgia's electric pass rusher this last season as well. So great steal, probably the best value pick of the 3.
Yeah.
But all 3 of those guys I think fit the Seahawks mentality. They don't fit quite the Seahawks physical what they're looking at physicality wise, but I think all 3 will be contributors, possibly even day one.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with Eskridge. I mean, he's 24 years old.
Yeah, he has to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has to be the most ready. All right, Jabroni time.
Okay.
You're up.
All right. I forgot what I had.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Oh, okay.
You got it?
Yeah,
sure?
so LeBron's back. Well, LeBron's back.
You want to know why you forgot? It's because he forgot his laptop today, so that's why he's free balling it.
Yep, and I feel exposed. A lot of chest, a lot of torso.
Yeah, have you done chest day recently, or
Monday?
Okay, well, at least.
Anyway,
Go ahead, dude. No,
it wouldn't be a locker room if we didn't talk negatively about LeBron. I think it's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
He's been out of the news cycle, but he's back. In both of these examples of things that he did this week epitomize why it is fair to critique this man and the things that come out of his mouth and one aspect of things that he does on the court. So I don't know. You could throw up either first, Sam, whether it's the video of him getting absolutely just murdered or no, this is better. Okay, so he was on a Zoom. He was on some podcast, Zooming, and he was talking initially about how he really liked the excitement and the potential of the play-in game. And he was, talking about Memphis and New Orleans kind of being in 2020, they're in that race to be in the play-in game. Obviously, it ended up being Memphis and Portland out there in the West. And now that the Lakers have found themselves on the cusp of falling back into the play-in game and not just being seeded 6 or higher and getting in officially and legitimately, he is upset. So shocking turn of events. LeBron having a change of heart doesn't exactly, and so he thinks somebody should be fired, whoever came up with this. Also, keep in mind, LeBron, that these play-in games are paying your salary, which I would assume that you would like to.
I think like to continue. Right. So you could extrapolate that out. He kind of came up with the play-in games.
Yeah.
I think LeBron should be fired.
Yeah.
Hashtag fire LeBron needs to be trending here.
So there's that. Classic LeBron quotes. Yep. Not really making sense, being consistent, or having any self-awareness of previous comments. And then he got murdered on the basketball court when he did make his return, and we got a little video of it here.
Love it.
So as you can see, profusely bleeding after just taking that left elbow of OG Anunoby to the dome. Prayers up, LeBron. I know that your ankle's hurting. I can only imagine what your forehead's feeling like.
Because it's that lack of hair isn't able to cushion.
True, yeah. Does it? Yeah.
That hairline's so far back now. It's just rough to see. So he's really struggling right now.
Still one of the greatest of all time. Still an incredible player. Love watching him play, but God damn it, you suck sometimes.
Yeah, you're so frustrating.
You really
sometimes.
do. So that's what I got.
I completely agree. All right, my turn. I don't have any media to show you, but the Oakland Athletics, Jesus Luzardo, pitcher, I think he was only like 23 years old for the Oakland Athletics. He broke his pinky finger over the weekend, and did you see this? Okay. So essentially what happened is he was playing video games, got frustrated, slammed his hand down, and had a hairline fracture in his pinky. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, when I was 10.
Right. Right. It's a very – and he even said that. He's like, it's a very immature thing to do. It was a mistake. I apologize. I apologize to the team, the fans, everybody. Super funny, though. I really think it's hilarious that a professional athlete because so many times you don't see these guys as being like me and you or them and whoever, but they do the exact same things in their off time as every other 23-year-old.
Yeah, they play Warzone. Yeah.
Imagine him playing Madden, for instance, and losing on a last-second touchdown and just getting slamming his hand down is hilarious to me.
Yeah, no, good
super funny. So he's out for a few weeks, he's actually had a decent year. Or decent last season, and then he actually has had a kind of a poor start to the season. But he'll be out for a few weeks. You ready for your sports fact?
Yeah, give it to me.
All right. Around World War II, in the 1943 season, the Eagles and the Steelers lost a ton of players to the war, like a lot of sports teams around the country. So they decided to combine during the 1943 season, and they became the Steagles.
Wow. That sounds made up.
I know, right?
That's how obscure of a fact that is.
That sounds completely made up.
All right.
I guess I didn't confirm it. Bleacher Report did. I mean, I trust Bleacher Report, but this was pre-Turner Sports acquisition.
Right.
Bleacher Report, like when guys were just writing for fun.
Oh, okay.
But I still do believe that.
Interesting.
Even though it sounds completely fake. The Steagles.
Okay.
Pretty good one, I think.
Okay.
All right. Closing time. You're up.
Okay, so ESPN's doing ESPN things. There was a tweet.
We're hating on LeBron and ESPN today. This is the best show ever.
And they go hand in hand.
They really do.
So ESPN is so thirsty for social media interactions, and they do such a bad job of actually being. Not that I am the voice of reason when it comes to being hip, cool, or contemporary, but they miss the mark on everything. It's the eyeballs, it's the fire emojis, it's the use of the word tough, and it's just really bad. And so on broadcasts, they had this superhero Avengers Assemble thing between the Pelicans and the Warriors, and they had Iron Man on the broadcast just sitting on the shot clock while Andrew Wiggins was shooting a free throw, and then they take a screenshot of that, and then they go, Iron Man's lurking, eyes emoji, and it's what the hell are you doing?
Right.
It's just it's such a microcosm
Garbage.
of the current state of affairs within ESPN in particular as a sports media entity. And it's so sad, and they're trying so goddamn hard, and they're whiffing so hard. And they also had, for like Wednesday night baseball, they had, because it was, May the 4th, and they had all of the people that were calling the game dress up as different Star Wars characters. And it's just like, nobody wants to see Tim Curtin or Carl Ravage. I just want to see Carl Ravage's actual hairline. That's the only thing I want to see. But it's just like they're doing these things that are... They're adding
cringy.
Anything. Maybe like the youth think it's cool. Maybe people that are in elementary school actually think it's cool. I don't know. I'm not that, and I don't think that's our audience that they should be targeting anyway.
No.
But who am I to say? And it's just really sad, and it's a perfect reflection of what is going on within ESPN and how they're just losing their touch.
And how Disney is just pulling all the strings.
Oh, my God. It's terrible. It's
atrocious. I even saw them post a staged clip on their main social media page. Like, and it's so obvious, and everyone's tweeting like, "Delete this, get this out off of my feed." And it's bad.
It's sad.
It's
sad.
very bad.
So that's what I have. ESPN, you're on the hot seat.
Yeah, we're gonna continue to watch that because it is getting very frustrating. ESPN as literally the worldwide leader in sports, should be better. They really should be better, and they're not. All right, quickly because we're over time here. Quickly, my closing time here. San Francisco Giants AAA season just began 2 days ago, like the rest of minor league baseball, for the first time in 2 years. Drew Robinson, part of the San Francisco Giants AAA affiliates, who are the Sacramento River Cats. By the way, I still love minor league baseball teams. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. There's just some really good ones out there. So again, he's 29. Robinson, he signed a minor league deal with the Giants over the winter. He's actually going to be playing this season for the River Cats. What's very crazy, though, is 6 months ago in the winter, so probably about a year ago, almost today, somewhere in this time, and he actually tried to commit suicide. He shot his head, then he lost his eye, and he's a lefty, and he made the minor league roster and will continue to play even though he only has one eye. It's like the first time since the 1940s that a guy with one eye is actually playing professional baseball. But essentially, cool story that things didn't work out for him, and then things obviously did end up working out for him. But he's just good. Yeah, the first guy since 1957. Pittsburgh pitcher Whammy Douglas only had one eye, which is pretty interesting. So good on him.
Yeah, really cool.
Glad that he made that comeback, and things are looking up for Mr. Robinson there.
All right, good Richie Sexton episode.
Yep, good. Number 44 here on The Locker Room. We'll see you here next week. Number 45.
Easily.
Yeah, I think kind of easily was number 45. Yep. R.I.P. to one of the best careers that never did continue longer. That he was such an awesome player. So yeah, we'll be here same time, same place next Thursday, May 13th. Until then, don't give ESPN as much credit as they don't, because they just don't deserve it.
Yeah,
but
go check out The Ringer.
Really, or The Athletic, anybody other than ESPN right now. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for watching The Locker Room on Spokane Talks. Check us out on Facebook as well as our other platforms. We want to hear from you. Join the conversation by emailing us at info@SpokaneTalksOnline.com. And for more sports news, opinions, and content, follow Justin and me on Twitter.